Hey everyone! If you are watching this video, I just want to say thank you and that I hope you're doing well in the midst of COVID-19 and the shelter-in-place orders. I know it's been crazy times, a lot of fear, but I hope that you are safe and doing well where you are. I wanted to make a video today just talking about what I have been experiencing and learning during my time here in quarantine, and I share it in hopes that it can be a blessing and an encouragement to whoever's watching this. So tomorrow I will be making a video on self-love, which is also kind of a reflection of what I've been learning, but for now I don't often share just like what I'm going through or what I'm learning in the midst of while it's happening, so this is a bit new for me, but I really appreciate it if you take the time to listen. So when quarantine started, it was as though God started exposing a lot of my heart and a lot of my thoughts. And I'm sure that some of you started to experience that too, because it was like suddenly everything that we fill our time with was suddenly taken away. And once it was taken away with nothing else to do but be at home and sit around in our thoughts, it was as if, okay, I have no way to escape this anymore. And that was really hard because it was like thoughts that I'd easily push away because I'm doing something else. I was then being forced to confront it. For me, there were a lot of fears, there are a lot of feelings of insignificance. I think that's where I'll start because, as some of you know, my schedule is crazy and I always do way too much. And these are things I've known for a very long time. And yet, because I already made commitments, I would find it hard to let go of things I was doing because I felt the responsibility to keep going. And so the fact that my schedule got completely cleared out for the first few weeks, because before Zoom started taking over again, it was just like, whoa, I've never had this much free time. I've never had this much time to rest and do absolutely nothing. And the thing is, for me, before 2020 even started, God told me that this year would be a year of rest for me. That was the word that He gave me for 2020. And I was like, yay, God, I'm so excited because I know I need to learn how to rest. I know that I need to figure out what it means to take care of myself. But I did not expect that God would literally just kind of take everything away to force me to learn how to rest. But that was kind of the first thing that I came face to face with. I put so much of my value and my significance in the things I do. I'm very involved in ministry, and then with work now, it was just like, yep, this is who I am. I teach, I do this. And for those things to not be happening, I was like, well, if I'm not doing these things, then what am I? Who am I? And when I have free time, like when my day is not filled with work and then ministry and then gym, the few hours that I have to myself, in my mind, I'm like, okay, now I need to use this to like learn piano or write my book or do those things that I don't have time to do. But then because I'm so tired from work and ministry, I do something mindless like just stay on my phone for hours, and then my day is completely gone. And now that I had my whole day free, I was like, okay, Sarah, this is it. This is what you asked for. You asked God for this, that you would have free time to do the things that He had called you to do. And so when quarantine started, I made schedules. I was like, okay, I'm going to do this at this time, and this is this. And it was pretty fulfilling for a while until suddenly I was feeling the exact same way that I feel during a normal day of work and then ministry, where I figured out that where the issue was that I was putting such high expectations on myself that actually the thought about the expectation was making me more tired than the actual doing, if that makes sense. So it was like, because I felt the need to fill my day with everything that I felt I needed to do, I was just putting so much pressure on myself to perform. And I wasn't even performing for anyone other than myself. And I think there's a layer of like, I felt like I was performing for God, because I felt like, all right, God can finally be proud of me now that I'm using my time wisely. Or like, I can finally be proud of myself now that I'm making the time and the effort to do the things that I've known I've wanted and needed to do for years. But what I'm learning now is that even that is not the healthiest place to operate from. If I am operating from a place of, I need to do this in order to feel like God is proud of me, or I need to do this and this in order for me to feel successful, then that's actually a reflection of my deep need for significance. And the opposite way to look at it is, I think the best way to operate is from a place of, I already know that I'm significant. I already know that God loves me. And I already know that He's proud of me and that He loves me. And because I'm secure in these few things, now I can do the things that I want to do and that I feel God is asking me to do, because it's not because I need to win His approval, but it's because He's already approved of me and He says that I'm worthy enough to do these things. And then I can do it. And for me, that's exactly what I'm learning right now. For my whole life, it has been everything I've done, I feel like, or at least most of the things I've done, have all been out of a place of, I'm not going to feel proud of myself, and I'm not going to feel worthy of love and significance unless I'm performing at my best all the time, perfectly doing all the things I need to do all the time. And yeah, and that has always left me feeling shame and feeling empty. And I think the reason why I've struggled with filling my time so much and not knowing how to rest is because I feel like I constantly have to fight to feel worthy of God's love and approval. And it's crazy because even as I'm making this video and talking about it right now, I feel like, oh, now it's starting to make sense. Everything I've ever done in many aspects, not everything, but so many of the things I've done have been out of a place of, if I don't, then what am I? Like, that has been my underlying mindset. And so it was a blessing for me that God started taking those things away, because then He got to confront this. I feel like for years God has started to show me this. Like, it's not new information to me. It's stuff that I have known, but until God took everything away, that was what it took in order for me to confront it and start to tell myself, like, okay, I am significant even if I don't do anything today. I am still worthy of love and God's approval even if I choose this day to sleep the whole day or just watch TV and play video games. Like, that's self-love. And for me, I've literally withheld self-love because I thought that it would equate to shame. That if I took the time to sleep, if I took the time to watch TV, if I took the time to play video games, then suddenly it would mean that I suck. And that has been the place that I have lived in for so long. And thanks to quarantine, I'm learning to fight that for the first time. And that has been a huge blessing for me. So that's one aspect. The second aspect that I really wanted to talk about is that I chose to invest in myself. Okay, wait, I'm like starting to tear up. That was weird. I felt like I was choking up when I said that. But yeah, I chose to invest in myself during quarantine. Okay, wow. So sorry if I get emotional, but I think, again, as I've said, I've literally withheld self-love from me for so long. And for a while, people were telling me to get therapy and help, but the last time I took therapy, I love therapy. So but I still kept making up excuses. Like, the last time I did therapy was in college, and when it ended, I felt like I had become very self-aware, but then I was left bitter. For the next several years, I was just bitter out of the things that I became aware of. So I was like, well, I do think I have the tools already. I'm already very aware. Like, I don't need help getting aware anymore. And that's all therapy is helping me get aware. So I think, so this was my mindset going into this. I was like, um, you know what? God has already shown me all the tools I need. I just need to apply it. And I think that was a big place of pride where I really believed that I had everything I needed and I just needed God and I just needed to do it. But at the same time, I was facing the fact that for months, literally for months, I had been saying the same thing over and over again. So, like with my life group and with my friends, every time they'd ask me how I was doing, I'd say the exact same thing where I was like, I'm not doing okay. I realized this, and I can't get past the fact that I feel unworthy of love. The thing that I was dealing with for months was feeling unworthy of earthly love and feeling unworthy of God's love. Like, even though I'm someone who talks about God's love a lot, I truly did not believe that God wanted to give me anything good. Like, I truly believed that God did not want to give me good things and love because I felt like it's something that He'd do for everyone else except me. And that coming face to face with that scared me. But I didn't know how to move past it. And it wasn't until one of my friends, Hanson, he literally said, like, Sarah, you've been saying this for months. And I can't even remember the rest of what he said, but he called it out. He was just like, you've been saying this for months and nothing has changed. And when I heard that, I was like, oh my God, he's right. This has been what I've said every single week for months. Obviously, something's wrong, and obviously, I need to make a change. And so, there had been a Facebook ad that I saw over a year ago, and it's for this program called Alive and Free. I highly recommend it. Highly would encourage you ladies to look it up if you feel like you struggle with rejection or heartbreak or just anything, really. It's all about freedom. Like, so much of what they stand on is to push you towards encountering Jesus so that you can experience real freedom from shame, rejection, and the feeling of not enough. And like everything they stand on was everything I've been needing. And so I had been in contact with the owners for a little bit, and before quarantine, and I was just like, okay, I want to do this. I know God's opening up the door now and that He's going to make a way. I have money. In the past, when I had started following them, I didn't have a full-time job yet, so I didn't have money to do it. I was like, I know I can't afford this. And that was my biggest excuse for a long time of why I didn't invest in myself. I was just like, I don't have money. Even if I did have money, I wasn't willing to spend it on myself because I thought it would equate to shame. So once quarantine happened, I was like, I have no excuse anymore. I'm not busy. I have the time to like do the homework that they would give me. And I knew when quarantine started, I had a moment where I was like, these next few months, I want to dive deep into healing. So when it comes down to it, and this is what God had actually showed me earlier this week, He said, I think it was yesterday actually, God said, Sarah, all of 2019 for you, I took you through the fire. I took you through intense fire of being exposed. I exposed the hidden parts of you that you didn't know were there. I exposed the triggers and the fears that you have. And like, it was so intense. I can't even articulate how intense last year was for me. And it was like nothing was even happening externally. In the past, when I went through things, it was like, okay, I'm going through a breakup. Okay, I'm going through a sickness. Okay, I'm going through being stressed and busy and whatever. But last year, I wasn't going through anything other than God used every person around me to expose things in my heart that I didn't even know I needed healing from. And I think that's why at the end of 2019, I was left so vulnerable, because it was like God took me through the fire and I knew He was making me strong, but it was like I felt as though I was out of the fire at the end of 2019 and beginning of 2020. But I was out of the fire, but my skin was still like open and raw and bleeding. That I have no other way to describe how it felt other than that. And what God said to me yesterday was like, yeah, I took you out of the fire. Everything's exposed. And now is the time to heal. Now is the time to rest and to heal. And I've been realizing that my healing looks like going through this program. I literally fought help for so long. And yeah, sorry. It's been like 3 weeks, and I've been experiencing the greatest level of freedom that I've had in months and like years. I keep diaries, and there are diaries that I read. I like to go back and read where I was. I remember like a few months ago, I was reading stuff that I wrote like when I was 15 or 16 and 17, 18, and all of the things that I wrote down were exactly what I still felt at 25. And I was just like, God, like, you've taken me through so much. Have I really not learned anything? And I realized that, like, it's not that I didn't learn anything. God taught me a lot. But the root of my pain hadn't been addressed. And the root of my pain had not been spoken love to, if that makes sense. And let me kind of explain. Like, the program really teaches you how to talk to the traumatized parts of your heart so that you can learn to heal and give yourself love. So, for example, what they've shown me, and it's like, you know, I kind of knew this from psychology, but now it's all coming together, was that when you experience something traumatic, you actually stay the age in which you experience that trauma. And so a lot of our neural pathways and our belief systems were formed when we were really little. So if I'm dealing with a feeling of rejection and dealing with a feeling of not being seen or good enough, they teach us to say, Sarah, I want you to ask yourself and ask your heart, when is the first time that you experienced that? And it takes a lot of intentionality. It takes very much being present with yourself. But then if you're able to go back to that first moment you experienced it, or maybe the first time that you remember experiencing it, you talk to that little part, like little aged you. So for me, there is a memory of I was 5. And so I have to imagine myself talking to little 5-year-old Sarah and saying to little Sarah, like, hey, you are seen and you are loved. And I know you feel this way right now, but you are worthy of love and stuff like that. And sorry, I did not expect to cry making this video, but it's so, one thing that's crazy for me is that I drew a lot growing up, and I literally have a comic strip of me, like the story is the 15, 16-year-old character talking to the little 5-year-old them and telling the little them, hey, it's okay. Like, and I'm just like, I found it the other day. Like, I first drew that concept in 2008. And now here in 2020, 26-year-old Sarah is learning how to actually apply that and talk to little her. And I was skeptical at first, but it's literally the greatest thing I've ever done. Like, I've been catching myself getting very triggered with my friends, like even on Zoom hangouts, and then I'll be like, I'll leave my computer, and then I'll get present with myself somewhere else and be like, Sarah, what are you feeling right now? And then this actually happened the other day where I went away, and then I was like, I knew the little me that needed love at that moment, and I went ahead and I was like, little Sarah, I know that you feel overlooked and unheard, but you have a voice and you have a lot to say, and your friends love you and you are loved. And literally, like, after that, I was able to leave and be like, oh, I feel a lot better. And then after kind of an hour, then I was able to be present with my friends. But it really works. And I'm just like, I cannot believe that I pushed away my healing because I wasn't willing to invest money into myself or time into myself. For my whole life, I wasn't willing to rest. I wasn't willing to play video games or watch TV because I thought it would equate to shame. I wasn't willing to say no to different opportunities because I had made opportunities equal my success and my significance. And then I wouldn't invest into therapy and coaching because spending money on myself in that area also equated to shame. And I was too prideful because I thought I could do it on my own. And that's the thing I want to share too, is just like, it makes me think about how many of us think that we can get by on our own, but really, like, the enemy's greatest tool is to bring us to a place of isolation where we think that we can do it without community and without God. And that is an absolute BS lie. We need community. We need people who are better than us and who are willing to love us where we are and speak what they've learned over us. And we have to be humble and willing to accept that as well. Yeah, it's, oh my gosh, wow. Feels nice to share all of this. If you're still listening, thanks. Like, it means a lot. And if you're still listening, I want to encourage you, like, don't be afraid to reach out to people. Don't be afraid to take time for yourself. And maybe you're like me and you put so much expectation on yourself to perform and to do everything perfectly because you think that your worth will decrease if you don't. That's an absolute lie. The biggest thing that I've heard lately that really I carry with me is how when we have a baby, like, the baby has done absolutely nothing for us. And yet we love that baby so much. They're so cute, so innocent, so beautiful. And nothing they could do for us would make us love them more or less. And in the same way, that's how God sees us. We're like little babies. He doesn't need us to do anything for him. Nothing that we do or don't do will make him love us less. He loves us exactly as we are before we did anything. Or even in the Bible, before Jesus began his ministry, when he was baptized, God said, "This is my son whom I'm well pleased." God had not begun his ministry yet, but his ministry was birthed out of God's approval. And I think that is like the biggest takeaway that I'm learning right now, is that everything that we do should be birthed out of the knowledge that God already approves of us. So yeah, I think honestly that's all I have to share right now. That's all that comes to mind. And just know that you are loved and you are seen, you are heard. God has more for you than you could ever plan for yourself. He is a God who has good things in store. And the bad things that we do go through will never be left like unredeemed. God will always redeem it if we let him. So thank you so much for listening to this. And I'm praying for the rest of this quarantine season that however long we're in this, that we would use it well, learning what it means to rest and find our security and approval and worth in God. Because I believe that when we come out of this, we're going to be so much stronger. And yeah, like, I believe that this time is actually going to be the launching pad of what God calls many of us to. So I'm praying for you, and thank you so much for listening. I'm going to leave links below to the coaching program that I do in case you're interested. And yeah. All right. Thank you so much. Have a good one. Bye.